Okay, everybody, I am here with Cynthia. Actually, I'm not physically here. We are on the I didn't even think about it till just now, the most opposite ends of the United States. Right? Really. Uh, you're down in Atlanta and I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest. We're pretty far away from each other. But we're here virtually together. Thank you for making the time to sit down and chat with me, Cynthia.
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate it. I think everyone's going to enjoy your experience. There's something I've really grown and have just really admire about you is your youthful energy. Like you just seem like you're this 20-year-old that just is ready to go out and conquer the world. Seriously, no, I really admire that about you. You just have this just energy that is just contagious. And also, not just that, but something I've really admired about you is your curiosity, right? You always are curious, and matching that with the humility of, even though you have so much more experience than I do in life and professionally, you never make me or other people feel crappy about themselves of I know more or any you always approach
No.
it from a very curious and humble standpoint. And I think that's what is a big part of your secret sauce of what makes you so awesome at what you do. I just want to say that out of the gate and get that out there. That being said, what is it that you're up to day to day? Let's just hear a little bit about that because you're doing quite a bit.
Yeah, like in terms of my work life, like
Yeah,
my
work.
home life.
Yeah, work wise, and I know you're active too outside of work, but yeah, work wise, what are you up to?
So the primary thing that I've been doing lately is training other therapists in brain spotting.
Hmm.
So I've been doing a fair amount of traveling. Today I just came back. We had the Southeast Brain Spotting Institute board meeting.
Hmm.
So that's really the capacity to sprinkle brain spotting throughout the Southeast and get people really excited about it and let them know that this is available to them.
Hmm.
So we actually have somebody now on our board who's going to really reach out to community members because of his own testimonial that he can't hold it back.
Oh, that's
Kind of like
cool.
I can't hold back from sharing it, and he wants
Yeah.
to share his healing and recovery.
Yeah.
And I see clients and just sit in deep listening and conversation and attunement with them.
Hmm.
So yeah, and you and I are working on, like getting me to write a book.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is awesome. We could go on and on. I think we could probably talk for a few hours. There's so many things that I'm learning from your life's work in there that is so cool.
Oh,
Yeah, that's really going to help. um I mean, as I go through your work, it's like it could help with this person, it could help with this person. I mean, there's just, yeah, there's so much richness in there, and people that it can help. That's going to be really cool when that comes out. I'm really excited for you. um
thanks.
so just curious, when you talk about Southeastern Brain Spotting Institute, now you started that, right? Like you really got that going. Is that correct?
Yeah, but so this Brain Spotting Institute started in Rocky Mountain Brain Spotting Institute,
Right.
and Pi Fry is my colleague, my friend, my mentor.
Hmm.
Um, and so it just seemed organic and natural that that's the evolution. And I moved down here in Atlanta about 7 years ago. So
Hmm.
I started out in my office with these little salons, introducing people to it, and then workshops, and
Hmm.
it just grew. And then I shared with people, hey, let's do this. So we would
Hmm.
started out with meetings in my living room, and then it came down to really doing the work. So I
Hmm.
had enough to make a board,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
people have been incredible. So I don't really feel like I did it alone at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I had a feeling that you would say that, right? And so I was kind of like, man, it's kind of a bad question because I know you're going to, go to the fact of, well, there's a lot of people around you, which there has been.
Yeah.
But that's a big task to take on, right? Of getting that going. But now there's, I mean, because of that, it's helped so many clinicians and therapists out there. But also I want to hit on the fact that when you say you're doing these trainings, that people really see what we mean by that, because to you it's just it's what you do, right? But in all reality, like it's pretty difficult for someone just to walk in and hold the space like you do in a brain spotting training, and be able to teach the material, because it's a few day process that you're training clinicians. And about how many clinicians are in each one of your trainings that you're doing?
20 to 40 people come. And sometimes I'm doing it alone, and sometimes I'm doing it with another colleague, because
Mm-hmm.
it's really fun to train with another trainer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
just sharing that. You said the word, like, it's hard to hold the space. Like, on some level, yes, you may be thinking like that,
Mm-hmm.
but I just feel like it takes its own shape and form, and it's very organic.
Yeah.
Because the process is organic, the training is organic, and then just you being a part of it, yes, it is a lot. Like yes, you do, you need to come back and take a good pause after working that hard.
Mm-hmm.
But anything in our life that we do where we're out there giving, we need that retrieve to replenish.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with you there. Yeah. Now I hear what you're saying. It's interesting, as you reframe it from being hard, you have to be very intentional, right? Which is a lot of energy, um,
Yes.
and to be into that space. And so I think it's admirable of how much training you do. And I'm curious of, what is it for you with the work you do with clients, and then the work that you're doing of training other clinicians at such a high level? Like, what's driving you? What makes you want to be doing so much in that?
Drew, it's the ripple is astonishing and exciting. So if I help one person, and that helps them change their life, and then that helps ripple into their life towards more people,
Mm-hmm.
then, or if a clinician comes to a training and they say, I went back to my office and this client that I've been working with for a really long time has just shifted and blossomed, it's like, ah,
Mm-hmm.
that's that's the yes about it. Like, just
Yeah.
because I never met that client, but there's that ripple. And then that client will go and have a different life and meet different people. And it's the ripple to all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, and it's interesting because I've been able to see that ripple, and talking with a lot of colleagues, especially in the area of brain spotting. I mean, you have trained so many people, or people hear, oh, Cynthia, and so I see so many people referencing, what you've taught, and being in trainings with you, and have seen the great stuff that's happening because of that. So that's interesting, as you mentioned, that it's happening, right, in
Right.
many lives. So a question that I have, I mean, it may seem like a simple question, but can be kind of hard to answer, is when you're sitting with people and, you're, like you're saying, you're in that deep conversation and deep listening. And you mentioned the word attunement. What is it that helps people heal and helps people move forward? Your theory and your ideas, what is it that helps people the most? Like the one or two most important things to help people?
So research has shown that out of all therapies, the one primary thing that makes a difference is the relationship with the therapist. Because
Mm-hmm.
relationship heals, and the primary thing that heals is love, right?
Okay.
So if you're sitting there with somebody and you're really receiving who they innately and truly are and mirroring that back, I think that has a profound effect on people to feel seen. If we're seen, heard, and really understood, that's what we long for, and to
Mm-hmm.
have that connection with another.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like those things, those ingredients can go across the board for many different concerns or issues or disabilities or things that people come into therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Label you want to put on it.
Yeah, no, I love that of being seen and heard, understood. And I mean, you can totally put me in my place if you want on this comment, but what about with people, who are wanting to just do that with themselves first, to see and to hear and understand themselves first? Do you think that's pretty important, or does it, I guess, where's the line of needing someone else to see and hear and understand you, or do you need both? Right? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that people come to therapy because they can't, and David Grant, who started Brain Spotting, says, like, there's something that they cannot resolve on their own. So somebody comes because they're so dysregulated and they've tried a lot. Maybe they tried to sit with themselves. Maybe they tried chanting, meditating, but there's something still that's not settled inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they're going to come and show up. I mean, in the old days when I started doing therapy, people did therapy for many other reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That I think now people in my office, well, partially because of the way we work, people are coming in and out a lot faster, and they are getting to that place of some settled homeostasis that they can then go back and maybe do more of their own work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And while they're in therapy, they need to also be doing some of that own self-healing.
Yeah.
And therapy is where they are, that internal healing that they do have within them, because we all have it within us, that gets ignited and supported.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a really, really awesome way to put it. So what about that person who's just sitting there, they're listening and they're like, you know what, like, I'm not feeling a lot of deep pain right now. Maybe they've done work, or maybe they, just process in one way or another, different things that happen in life, but they just want to feel a little bit better, right? Like they want to do something now. Like, as they're listening to this podcast, what comes to your mind? Just like naturally, like what comes to your mind of what's one or two things that someone can do just to like turn that dial a little bit to feel just a little better? What would you say?
Start with your breath. Start with bringing awareness. Like, our breath is really interesting because we organically are breathing, and we can also bring.
So, right?
Well, the people that are listening to this are.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right? Yeah. And then, but they can also bring consciousness to the breath.
Yeah.
So I can intentionally breathe and bring my mindful awareness into my breath, which brings me into my body. And then when I'm connecting with my body, I'm connecting with my environment, and it shifts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. Does someone have to have like a lot of deep training in breath work to be able to do that? Or what does someone need to be able to do that?
Air, some nasal passage, or a mouth.
Now we're getting specific. That's good. Yeah.
Like we can all do it.
Yeah.
But I do think that if somebody has high anxiety, for example, there's sometimes when breath or deep breathing can raise it. So it's good to be under, caution and care around watching how your body responds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I definitely have seen that. Someone with a lot more anxious energy, or if it's, somebody with, an anxiety disorder, how breathing can have that. Well, if you're not going about it in the right way, it can. But even just noticing breath, for the most part, can, it can be so effective for people, right?
Yes.
And just, learning how to breathe well. Absolutely. I totally agree with you there. And it's interesting as we bring up that subject of like anxiety, there's just a lot more reports, the younger generations, folks in their 20s and 30s right now, who are, you know, experiencing all kinds of different levels of anxiety and anxious energy. What's your thoughts? Like, what's going on there in your mind? We're just theorizing, or maybe you've read some good research on it.
So there's a different, like, it has to do with what is the definition. So when somebody says I'm feeling anxious, it's always good to say, well, what does that mean for you? Because I don't know what they're talking about in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say when somebody feels anxious, it's like they're worried, and it's more like an angst, like a worry, a concern, a fear level. So it might be more of like fear talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it comes about for multiple different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Today, actually, when I was listening on the radio, they were talking about burnout, and people defining burnout with more symptoms than it used to be defined. So they're looking deeper into that. And with anxiety, I think that sometimes it's because I'm not connected to myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like if this is me and I go out in the world because I want love, I want approval, I want companionship, and I'm hunting and looking and hoping to gather,
Mm-hmm.
now you can see how far out I am.
Mm-hmm.
This between the me that I started can be like anxiety. Be this like core self, or through my higher power self, whatever label you want to put it to. So we need to come back to ourselves, and all these different disciplines that are out there, maybe some therapy can, some of the things that we do with like shifts can help me come back to myself, and begin to feel like when we started before, you said like, can I just like close my eyes and be with myself? And it's like, yeah, come back to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to what feels authentic and real and good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you function and you act from a wholly different place.
Yeah, man, I feel like I just want to, tell you just to preach on. This is great. I hope that so many people will really just, go back a couple minutes and listen to that a couple times. It is that connection with ourselves, right? I hear you totally. And coming back to ourselves, and that's true authenticity that we're talking about there. And to be honest with you, like, that's a big part of why I got involved with Mindcurrent is not just because it's something creative and so much fun, but the impact that it can have. And that the you don't always see this, you don't see this a whole lot, is these tech geniuses who are like, we want to help people feel like they're more human and bring the humanness back to them. I'm like, oh, that right there is cool, because you don't hear that in tech stuff, right? It's like, oh, it's let's get the machine learning, and which is great, but it's how do we take that and help people, essentially what they're saying is what you're saying, really feel connected and coming back to who they are, that authentic self. So I think it's beautiful the way you say
one
that.
other thing, and I also think connection with others, because I do think that maybe the younger generation lost some of the community connection, the social engagement. And when I don't feel a kinship connection to myself, to others, to community, for people, I think that causes helps to add to that creation of anxiety.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can't tell you how many people I've heard talking about this, right? Of this connection with others, and it's interesting because there's so many different ways to connect, but are we really connecting, right? Are we truly connecting? I think is what it comes down to. So yeah, those are great points. I love it, and I love the way you said it. So I have a question for you. You've been very successful in your career, in different careers as well. What I'm really curious about, for you, you're teaching people a lot. You're helping people heal themselves. And I want to know, and of course, whatever you feel comfortable with, what's maybe a time in your life where it's felt like you've really kind of had to dig down deep, maybe a hard period of life or a hard moment specifically. And how did you focus on just some small things to help you day by day to move forward and to move on beyond that?
So I think the biggest shift for me that made me really hit that bottom and look deep and not really be able to do a lot but that in a day,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, was when I had gotten divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I just really needed to look deep inside. So one of the, you asked what helped me. First of all, I am really fond of reaching out for help if I need it.
Yeah.
So a lot of learning about meditation, like I did TM meditation. I studied with some more spiritual people, understanding and learning about the chakras. Learned this modality called Munaiki, which means I love you, which is from Peru. It's these initiation rites.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about mindfulness. I did a lot of meditation, but it was hard in the beginning because of that lack of connection.
Mm-hmm.
and not feeling grounded, not feeling. So what I did was I would set the timer on my phone, and I would set it at a specific time. And for me, I called it God. So I'd say, "Oh, it's God calling. I need to."
That's cool. Yeah.
And sometimes it would ring during session.
Yeah,
it's like, oh. But it would be even just in a split second, it was the reminders. I needed to be reminded, to be present and to be connected, because I was so lost in my level of pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I
That
use
right.
a lot of tools, but
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I think that right there is, going through divorce, I can't even imagine that pain that is experienced there. But hearing, you say that just these little moments like that, right? And feeling connected and what I heard you say too, there's a lot of little things. It's hard to kind of narrow down to just this one thing. You really can't. But, hearing that from the meditation to the spiritual work and, what you did in reaching out, like a lot of those little things, that is what adds up. And I think go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say one really important thing that helped me too.
Yeah.
So I started to have a team of people that, like the way you introduced me, with all that support and recognition. And I would imagine this circle of people that really saw me and kind of understood me and supported me. I see them in my mind, and I put myself in the center of the circle, and I just let myself feel what they experienced me as.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. That energy and that love and recognition, being seen and heard and understood by other people. I recently watched a movie and I can't remember the name of it, but I can tell you it was a good movie because I stayed awake the whole time. That doesn't happen very often. Like I just don't. But it was good because I was there, start to finish. And I can't remember, it'll come to me in a minute, but the actor said that, the one thing that he does have control over is the people with whom he spends time, right? That he allows in. And I think that was really powerful. Oh, Upside, I think is what it was. I think that's the movie, because he's paralyzed from neck down, right? And so doesn't feel a lot of control, but I think that translates to us just as humans in general, right? Of like, paying attention to who we allow in and surrounding ourselves with people that we can, and when we're having a hard moment like that, that can be a shift of bringing in their energy, right? And feeling that, even if we're not physically able to be with them in that moment, but bring those people into our lives, right? I think is a super powerful thing, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that. I know it can be, kind of vulnerable to get on here, and I ask all the experts, very similar question, because I think it's important that we share.
Yeah.
And people see, no, we're in this together. That's a core value for us in Mindcurrent, is together. We're humans all alongside each other. And I think that's an important thing to remember, right? Well, cool. So just one last thing here before we do wrap up is, there's so many different things going on politically these days, and just, people really sharing just a lot of strong opinions, and just gets really heated. And I find myself just being like, don't even want to go there with you. Like, I just want to stay out of it. But what would you say is something that people can focus on or do each day to just bring peace to themselves, despite all the different opinions and energy going on out in the world? What can people be doing to just help feel more peace each day? What would you say?
The word that comes to me is gratitude. And there's more and more science about the
Yeah.
development of our brain, and that part of our brain when we're connected to gratitude,
Mm-hmm.
and to also hold compassion.
Yeah.
And I think that if you Google any of the exercises around gratitude or compassion, it's just starting with having a few things in the morning or at night as a ritual of acknowledging gratitude for them.
Mm-hmm.
Can shift your day, it can shift your night, can shift your sleep. Rather than focusing on the what's wrong, let
Mm-hmm.
me be with what I feel and my heart is right, or what I feel connected to, what I love and I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's beautiful. It's so interesting, actually. Like, and I don't know if I don't know what it was. But I think part of it is probably of your energy you carry too. Like, I actually felt kind of bad even saying all the stuff that's going on in the world. Like, just even saying that, because there's still so much beauty going on in the world. Yeah, there's a lot of jacked up things where you're just kind of like, oh wow, okay, a lot of political unrest, whatever. But like, I couldn't, I don't know, I felt this just kind of weird energy saying of all the stuff going on in the world, because I'm like, well, I'm not even looking at what I can be grateful for and what's beautiful, right? Like, it just naturally, I could feel a resistance to just highlighting what's not, so awesome in the world right now. So it's interesting that you said what you did, and absolutely, I mean, how that impacts the physiological, system, our heart, everything, it has an impact on. So I think it's beautiful what you shared. Well, I think this is great, Cynthia. I want to be careful with your time. I know that you've been working, and you've got still quite a bit of, stuff to do this weekend. You're doing another training this weekend, isn't that right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
but
awesome. And we're
it's still light out where I am,
yeah,
and talk about, a shift is like looking at the trees,
yeah. Oh,
and being with nature is such a great shift, right?
yeah. Well, it's interesting. I just earlier today actually recorded a podcast on the experience of awe and how we get that through nature, right? And that what that does to the brain, the novelty of it, but also the cognitive realignment that happens, or realignment that happens, and what that does. You can't experience it through anything else. It's its own unique shift, like you're saying, an experience, that we have. So I love that you brought that up. I think that's awesome. It is light, and it is nice here as well. In fact, I'm going to get in a little workout whenever we're done and go take it
I'm
all
still packed for Louisiana though.
in. There you go. Ah, fun. All right, Cynthia. Well, I really appreciate that, and I want to, let everyone know that's listening to this that, you can directly try out some of Cynthia's shifts, and also jump into Mindcurrent, and give it a shot. Try it. So I've gone through all of her shifts, and can say that I feel very light, very much at peace. and a lot of gratitude when I go through them. So I want to challenge everyone listening to do that. And as you do, you will feel better sun up to sundown.
Thanks.